All right, so welcome everybody. This is the Marketing Hot Seat, Tuesday, March 5th. And let me tell you just a quick background on what the hot seat is, what we're going to do over the next 20, 25, 30 minutes. As much as possible, we are going to take your questions, and we are here literally to answer your questions, your most pressing questions around any and all things digital marketing. If you're new to this particular process that we have, this program we have called the Hot Seat, it's a free 30-minute opportunity for you to sit down with us or virtually sit down with us. Ask us questions literally about everything. Digital marketing is a very vast field of study and skill sets and challenges. And we work here at our agency with business owners who have small teams and maybe don't have the budgets to build out an entire marketing team. And so they work with us in terms of SEO, PPC, Google Analytics, making sure their sales funnels are built tight, CRM enablement, web design, redesign, funnels, Facebook ads. I mean, you name it, everything under the digital marketing sun, we help clients work in. And we also help marketing managers. Marketing managers often get thrown into a role inside of small to mid-sized companies, and they usually get dumped 15 different things that they have to do inside of their business objective and in their role. And generally speaking, in the digital marketing landscape, unlike the old creative billboard, radio, TV world, the digital marketing landscape requires skill sets that are beyond really the scope of one human being's capabilities. I've been in marketing and sales now since I was 19 years old. I'm blessed to be 49 this year. I have done a little bit of everything in the marketing landscape, and there are certain things that I absolutely suck at. There are people on our team that are phenomenal superheroes in certain aspects, and then they're terrible at other things. And so collaboratively, we were able to really drive a lot of results for our clients. We've been blessed over the last 9 years to work with companies as small as startups that hadn't even earned $1 of revenue, all the way up to Fortune, I guess you'd call them Fortune 500, maybe even a couple of Fortune 100 companies, insurance agencies starting with the letter G. We've helped generate over $200 million in revenue for companies. So it's my privilege and pleasure to work with you today. As I mentioned, go ahead and feel free to leave your questions, put any and all questions in the chat box. I'll call those out one at a time and get to that. But what I'm going to do is jump into a question that came up during a conversation yesterday. I had a consultation with a firm yesterday, small to mid-sized firm, 2 people on the marketing team, and literally they're just inundated, just like we see most marketing teams, they're inundated with what they should be doing strategically. One of the challenges they had, which was very interesting, a little bit off the beaten path of a typical digital marketing question, which was their company name and another company that has the same name. However, this other company has a terrible, terrible reputation online, and they're doing Google ads and they're doing SEO, and they're trying to figure out how do they step away and what do they need to do content wise to separate themselves from this company with terrible, terrible advertising. So there were 2 pieces of advice I gave them. By the way, these companies are in totally different industries, totally different spaces. So when we talked about the Google advertising side of their process, we simply told them one simple thing. And I don't know if you're facing any of this, but I mean, our company is Yokel Local. There's another company called Local Yokel, reverse name, also called Local Yokel Media. So there's a very similarity. So we have the same kind of issue where we're trying to make sure we are distinct in who we are. We've also gotten confused by the fact that our company name is Yokel Local Internet Marketing, with us being an internet service provider like Cox Cable here in Las Vegas, or Qualcomm, or some other, some of these places around the country. So we've had this type of issue. So here was my advice. Number 1, we just simply said when they run their Google ads to just not bid on their company name, so that anytime someone was looking to complain about the other company, they would not have to spend money to defend that they're not the same company, meaning they'd stay out of the conversation, if you will, negatively of this other company. And it seems sort of normal for me to say that, and it just rocked her world in a way that she was like, oh, I never thought of that. Like, you don't have to bid on your company name. You can exclude your company name from any advertisement from Google showing up. So you just tell Google, anytime someone Googles my company's name, don't show my ad. And then you don't have to worry about spending money wasted there. So that was kind of the first thing. The second thing, which was another aspect of it, was, let's just say you didn't take that part of the advice. The second piece of the advice was to use negative keywords in Google. In Google Ads, you can literally tell Google when to show your ad and when not to show your ad. So for example, their industry, the industry that was the bad companies industry, had to do with some sort of television antenna, some sort of cable antenna or streaming antenna, probably one of those illegal scams where people try to skip the cable process and put some, antenna on your house so you can skip having to pay cable fees or satellite fees. That's my guess. I didn't have time to research it. I didn't care. My point was because her industry is in the technology space and this company's in the television antenna space. You just go into Google Ads and you tell Google, anytime someone Googles anything about television, antennas, cable or whatever that industry is related to, you just tell Google, don't show my ad no matter what, if those words are part of the search query. Okay. So the point to this is use Google's negative keyword functionality when you're using Google Ads. A lot of times people get started with Google Ads, which is a fantastic way, by the way, to get immediate online presence for your business if you're just getting started online. Yes, you're paying per click, but if you're very crafty about what words you want to show for, you're going to get the clicks that you want and you're not going to get the clicks that you don't want. So that was question number one. I'll come back to the other two questions if we have time. Let me just jump into the chat box, let me say. So Steven's got a question. So Steven is the managing partner at his company and he's really passionate about having, the company is really passionate about having him expand the marketing and advertising horizons, attending seminars, taking part in trade shows. What are some other ways that I can think of as a marketer that he could expand his horizons and gain knowledge on ways to improve the company's marketing efforts and generate leads? Okay, so that's a little broad. However, so the company sounds like it's traditionally wanting to go into this area of getting out, and obviously you got to beat the streets and do trade shows and that kind of thing. What I will tell you, first of all, is when you're going to trade shows and when you're going to offline events and doing those kinds of things, one of the best things that is overlooked with trade shows, and we work with a very large multinational B2B on-site physical rehabilitation and therapy company that literally implants workplace rehabilitation and physical therapists on campuses like Costco, campuses like LinkedIn and Twitter. Just think about a company that size with as many employees that live on those campuses. And what I'm getting at is they do lots of trade shows. That buyer who's hiring their company isn't generally going to be looking online for a $2 million service, right? That's not typically where they're going to find their most ideal customer. However, what you can do when you go to trade shows or any offline event for that matter is you can gather the names and you're going to have either a booth or you're going to be collecting business cards. One of the best things you can do if you're doing networking and you're at large function networking events or going to conferences. So just if you're not doing trade shows, just think of any offline marketing activity and how can you pair that online. One of the best strategies is to make sure you are using a CRM, a customer relationship management tool, a piece of software that allows for you to gather those names of those people and have a follow-up sequence. One of the things that's interesting to me in terms of marketing efforts and generating leads is we spend a lot of time and whether you have a marketing budget or not, when you go to an event, you're spending time and that means you're spending money unless you don't value your time very highly, right? What I find interesting is hardly anyone ever sends me an email to follow up on our introduction meeting or follow up on our conversation at the booth. And that's one of the missed opportunities. So if you're an offline company that goes out to these types of events, is making sure that you have a CRM in place so that every time you come back from those events, you input all of the information from the people and the prospects that you met into a CRM, a customer relationship management system. And by the way, before we're done today, I'll give you a link to a 100% free CRM that we use at our company. And I will show you how to get set up on that. And it is 100% free for life. Literally, if you don't have one, I'll put that in the link here before we're done. And what's important about this? Number one, you can now be reminded as to when you need to contact someone. Our human brain can't do that many things. It can't remember that many things. It's not designed to be a storage facility. So the best thing to do is to take all those leads and get them into a CRM and then have the CRM tell you when you should contact those people again. So that's one way to leverage trade shows for sure. But what are some of the other ways that you can expand in marketing to improve the company's marketing efforts? Well, the very first thing I would recommend to you, Stephen, is to make sure you really deeply understand your company's buyer's journey, meaning how does your most ideal buyer journey through the process to buy your company's products or services. You know, in companies today, we find that the marketing team is thought of as the team that's just to put the messaging and the communication about the company out on the marketplace. And then the sales job or the sales team's job is to close the business. Well, today, those two components aren't the same. I mean, they're merged today when you look at digital technology. The marketers should be thinking of themselves as being inserted into that buyer's journey. So Stephen, if I had to give you a good piece of advice, just jumping on board with EPL, is really start to understand who the best clients are, who the best customers are, who's the most ideal customer for EPL. Number two, I would start to really think about how those buyers are going to go through the buyer's journey. What that might mean, Stephen, is you talk to the sales team. Like I was having a meeting one day, a week and a half ago, and the marketing team didn't really know much about the sales process. And I'm thinking, I don't know how that works too well today. I don't understand how the marketing team over here can market effectively, but not know what the sales process looks like. So I sent that person back and said, go have a meeting with your sales team. Number one, what is the value of a customer to the organization? One of the problems we find a lot of times is that marketing teams don't have big budgets. And that's because when they go to ask the owner, the CEO, the executive, whoever has to make that financial decision, could be a CFO, for a marketing budget, the marketing team doesn't really know how to develop what we call an ROI on that budget. Sorry about that. So they don't know what to do. They don't know how to explain how they're going to utilize the budget to drive revenue, right? No CEO, no CMO, no CFO, whoever's above you making a financial decision, the answer will always be no on a budget if you can't provide a very detailed plan on how it's going to drive revenue. At least that's what we see with all the companies we work with. And by the way, we work with hundreds of companies every single year, whether we do the work for them as an agency, whether they attend our workshops called the Digital Growth Mastery Bootcamp, or whether we teach them online in one of our online courses. So Stephen, the conversation is fairly broad. And let me just put my phone really quick on airplane mode because I keep getting some calls. And so that's one of the questions. Stephen, I'll have to circle back a little deeper. If you want me to go a little deeper into that, I can come back. Welcome, Zane. I see you, by the way. Zane, if you are new to the hot seat, feel free to, your microphone should be unmuted. You can ask a question or feel free to drop your name, your company name, and drop a question in the chat box, and I'll get to you in just a moment. Welcome to the Marketing Hot Seat today. Let me jump to Ken's question really fast. So Ken is, by the way, Ken and I go way back. Though we share the same last name, we are not related by blood, but related through business. My man, my brother, Ken Evans, the president of the Urban Chamber of Commerce, who I just had the privilege, boy, my words are getting tied up today, of serving as the marketing committee chair for a couple of years. So welcome, Ken. Ken says, what is a strategy to get people to go from our social media posts to the Urban Chamber website? Well, that's going to be a way. Geez, I got to tell you guys, I am so sorry. I'm using a new computer and not sure how to mute all these notifications. Anyway, let's keep it pressing. So in order to get people from social media to the website, you really just have to put an ad in place to get them to do so. And it doesn't have to be an advertisement, but it's just including links in the social media post, directing them to the website. But there has to be a reason for them to go. No one's really browsing social media at any given time to go to the post. So Ken, just to kind of think about what we used to do with the monthly event that was Coffee and Commerce. Obviously, every time we ran one of those ads, we would include a link for them to go to the registration page and at least get them the information so that they can register. So it's really just putting a call to action into the social media post. One of the strategies we're using right now is Facebook Live. For those of you right now that are not utilizing Facebook Live, let me tell you a couple of reasons why it's important to utilize it. Number one, it's an underutilized platform right now by most companies and most businesses who have Facebook pages. Ken, I know you're actually doing a lot of Facebook Lives. I know you're going live a lot from your personal profile. I'd also encourage you to go live from the Urban Chamber of Commerce page. The reason why it's really interesting is you can go live, and at the moment you're going live, you can actually stop at that moment and put inside the description box a link to where you want them to go. So Ken, an example, because I know the business model, I know you well, one of the things you could do perhaps, let's just say you were promoting Coffee and Commerce. So or maybe you're promoting the Monday radio show. Either way, let's just stick with Coffee and Commerce. Let's say you jumped on Facebook Live and maybe you're only there for a couple of minutes and you're just doing a quick highlight over maybe last month's Facebook Live or last month's Coffee and Commerce. All you simply say is, hey, everybody, Ken Evans here, Urban Chamber of Commerce. Listen, I want to invite you out to the upcoming Coffee and Commerce coming up next month on this time at this date. And here's who's going to be talking. We're going to have so-and-so talking about this, and we're going to have so-and-so talking about that. It's going to be a great time. We got some breakfast for you. Come out, network, and get some information that'll help your business grow. By the way, there's a link in the description box above. Feel free to click that link and go get registered, right? You can do that without an ad budget. You can do that every single time. We're right now doing Facebook Lives. We're actually been a little bit off our schedule here recently, but we started doing Facebook Lives on a regular basis, December 19th, towards the end of last year, and then going back and dropping that link in, and we are, slowly but surely driving more and more leads. Obviously, Facebook Live takes a little bit of while to drive some awareness, but if you keep doing it consistently, you'll start getting more. Ken, I know you're comfortable with video, so I'd certainly encourage you to keep doing that. Okay, next question here. Hopefully that was helpful. And by the way, ask any follow-up questions that you can. We've got about 9 minutes to go. Zane, if you have a question, feel free. You're welcome. Ken, you're welcome. Zane, if you've got a question, drop it in the chat box. Happy to help you with really any topic. SEO, Google pay-per-click, Facebook ads. Last week we had on-page SEO, we had Facebook ads, we had Google Analytics. The week before that, we had topics dealing with the Facebook pixel. So literally anything that you might need help with, Zane, let us know. We'll get a question for you. If not, you feel free to be a fly on the wall. I'm going to jump over to a question that came up last week from a startup. A young gentleman came to our office, literally, like, we've been in business 9 years, and this rarely happens. Someone Googled something online. Of course, we have a big online presence. I think we get 1 million Google impressions a month. But interesting, we hardly ever in 9 years have anyone Google and find our website and choose to get out of their chair wherever they were and drive down to our office sight unseen with no appointment. Very rare that has happened. Anyway, 2 weeks ago that happened. Young gentleman comes in, he's starting up a firm. Him and a business partner are starting up a VIP service here in Vegas. What that simply means is they concierge, they help tourists who are coming to Vegas essentially plan out their nightclub experience. They plan out their day club experience, their nightclub experience, their restaurant experience. Essentially, just think about going into a hotel and having a concierge desk take care of all your planning when you go somewhere. I love the process when I travel to places that I'm unfamiliar with. So what they are doing and what his business model is, he was looking at his competitors and trying to figure out how they were going to do SEO as good as their competitors. And so the question he said was, what should we be doing in SEO? And I said, nothing. It was interesting because one of his big competitors is dominating search engine optimization. They're dominating Google's first page. And so it may seem counterintuitive, but oftentimes when we're working with startups, the worst thing, or if we're startups, we can't do what our biggest competitors are doing right now. A, we may not have the budget. B, that company's been doing SEO longer. SEO does not work overnight. So my advice to him and his business partner, and he took this sort of business proposal back to his business partner. We're waiting to hear right now to see what he's going to do. But we suggested that, number one, he's going to have to play the ground game, right? He's going to have to go out and do a lot of networking at the clubs, which he's already in the process of doing. That's actually how he got his idea, because he got a friend in the industry. So they have some one-on-one and ground game connections. So obviously when you're a startup, you're always going to need the ground game. Even if you've got a decent budget, you're almost always going to need the ground game, unless you're a SaaS company, software as a service, where you definitely do business online. But here was the other piece of advice, and he found it a little bit counterintuitive. Number one, he needed a website, right? And he was sitting here looking at this competitor's website, and he says, Daryl, how much would it cost for us to build a website like this? The answer was $10,000 to $15,000. And he, of course, his eyes were rolling, and we're like, listen, but you don't need a website like that. You literally don't need a website like that. You need a very simple, what we call MVP, Marcus Vitamin Paul, minimum viable product website. It's a concept that we help small businesses with, so that you can get a minimal viable digital presence because at the end of the day, the website isn't going to drive that much business for his type of business. At the end of the day, he's got to get phone calls. There's no way someone's going to book his service strictly from a Google search without making a phone call and talking to one of his sales consultants, and et cetera. So we simply said, listen, instead of taking your budget and dumping it, and by the way, I think the budget was about $5,000, not $10,000 to $15,000. So we saved him like 10 grand and we saved him a bunch of heartache. What we said is build a $1,500 website, maybe a $2,000 website, and then take the other 3 grand and use that for advertising on Google and or Facebook or both. Because what you can do is because people are searching for that service online, you can get in front of them immediately with a small budget or not a small budget, but a decent budget with Google Ads. And then you use Facebook ads on the back end to retarget people that didn't convert right away on Facebook. So that was a Google Ads strategy on the front end, Facebook ad strategy on the back end. And here he was probably going to blow his entire budget on a website and have nothing left to do with marketing because his perception was that he needed to do what the competitor was doing. So be careful of the trap of thinking about what your competitors are doing and really think about the lane that your company can run in. I give you a last example, and I'll jump back over to your question. When we started as a marketing agency, we're in one of the toughest spaces to really be an expert at marketing, meaning no matter how good our team is, we are competing with companies, especially, companies that are driven by marketing. And so we have a really hard time. So we can't compete with everybody. We don't try to. There are people that have been in the marketing space longer than we have, who have bigger teams than we have. And yet we still find a way to get 1 million search impressions a month. And that's because we chose to go a different route. So that's one of the things I'd encourage you as you get into the digital landscape. Look for a path that no one else is taking and then exploit that. Right now we're doing Facebook Lives. It's working really well for us. Our blog content's working really well. We're doing events like this to connect with our audience. And so anyway, think about those kinds of things. Let's see what else. By the way, we've got a couple of minutes left. Let me jump back over to Ken. So Ken says, yeah, I'm going to use this on the March 13th Coffee and Commerce, plus going live for the Facebook page on the UCC. Yeah, that's the key, Ken. Use the Facebook page for UCC. And then MVP sounds like a good future commerce. Yep. I'd be happy to talk about MVP. MVP it's not my concept. Let me tell you where it came from. Number one, it came from a book called The Lean Startup. Let me see if I've got it here. I probably don't. But anyway, it's a book by a gentleman in the startup world called Eric, and I can't pronounce the name. It's Ries or Rees, R-I-E-S. I'll put it here. It comes from The Lean Startup. I would recommend at any startup business, read this book. That is a book that everyone needs to read if you're an entrepreneur and you're a startup entrepreneur with little capital, who's looking at a budget that has little funds. Listen, I am starting right now an e-commerce side project and a personal development side project, and I am going into it with the leanest budget I possibly can. I am building what's called an MVP website with an MVP product offering, which means what MVP means is you get just enough into the market to get traffic and or feedback into a loop. We all have these smartphones. If we think about the first smartphone that came out, I want to say that BlackBerry was the first. Maybe they weren't the first one, but it was the first one that I bought. Then the iPhone came out, I think 2007, 2008, and we're all still carrying iPhones or Google phones, whatever the phones are now. They're constantly being updated, right? They're constantly being updated. And the problem I think about when we think about marketing is we're not necessarily thinking about just putting enough into the market to get feedback. This very webinar, this very product we call the Marketing Hot Seat is an MVP. We just started it 3 weeks ago. We started it off the back of an idea. It is very simply a Zoom webinar. There are no presentation slides. There's no sales pitch. There's no reason to do anything other than to open up a communication channel because we just don't have enough time during the week to take appointments for free all week during our free strategy sessions. So we're trying to connect with more people faster. This very event is very much an MVP. Okay, so MVP can be used a lot of ways: advertising campaigns, website design, email marketing campaigns, even sales systems. I mean, there's so many things you can do with an MVP if you just take the idea of, let me get the most minimum product available that's doable, get it into the market, get it into the hands of the people who could give me feedback take that feedback loop and then start to improve. That goes back to this idea that I completely am ingrained in, which is, and if we think about the journey that Toyota made in the car industry, and we'll wrap up here in just a moment. Think about the journey that Toyota made coming into the car market from Japan into the United States car market and dominating off the back of Edward M. Deming's advice. And they began this process of Kaizen, which is constant, never-ending improvement. And so it's a fabric. It's woven into the fabric of who I am as a marketer, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a father, as a son, as a friend. It's just that we are constantly needing to improve. And if we take MVP and we say, let's just get in the game, right? I played sports. You know, every game we had to get better. Every practice we had to get better. Win, lose, or draw. We had to show up the next week and get ready for the next game and try to get better and get better and get better and get better. The outcomes would be the outcomes, right? But in a way, we would judge the outcome for a short while, but then we say, okay, what do we need to do to improve? Same way you want to look at your marketing, same way you want to look at the growth of your business, okay? So let's see. We have any more questions from Steven, Zane, or Ken? If not, we will bring this session of the Marketing Hot Seat to a close. Let me see if anybody else joined that I just missed. Let me make sure I look at the entire chat feed. All right, it doesn't look like we have any more questions. So what I will do is I will get ready to sign off today, but what I want to do is let you guys know, let me go ahead and grab for you really fast I said I was going to post the CRM link. Let me go ahead and grab that for you really quick. By the way, the CRM, we find that any company that's not using a CRM and struggling with sales, this is usually the issue. So if you don't know how to use a CRM, you can certainly reach out to us, but we would certainly say if you're tight on your budget and you're not really in the place with Salesforce and some of these other pricier CRMs, we would love to have you check out the HubSpot CRM. By the way, we are a HubSpot partner, full disclosure, but the product is free. You are never going to be upsold. So if you click on this link, you can sign up for the HubSpot CRM. It integrates with every email marketing tool you use. You do not have to use HubSpot's marketing automation tools. It literally is a free CRM, plugs into Google, your Gmail, your G Suite, your Outlook, ties into MailChimp, Aweber, Constant Contact. Literally, it can sit literally as your database. And guys, just so you know, I've been around CRM since they were non-online. They were not online. They were pieces of software. 2002 was the first time I used a piece of software called a CRM. And I still see a lot of businesses today that they're not managing their leads. They're not managing their contacts. And there's gold in your contacts, right? If you think about every person you meet as an asset, whether they are going to do business with you or not, and then properly integrate that into a CRM system, you will find that that will be your biggest asset in your business. Our goal, the growth of our company doesn't come just from somebody Googling a problem or a service that we provide and instantly buying. There's a relationship process, right? That's why they call it customer relationship management. There's no product, hardly ever, unless you're in an emergency service business, where you're just gonna have to buy something overnight. In most cases, sure, if you come home and your hot water heater exploded, yes, you're gonna need a plumber like right now. If someone breaks your window, or you're gonna need somebody to fix that right now. But if you're in B2B or in professional service sales or nonprofit or small business advocacy, Ken, like you are, you're going to be in the nurturing business for a long period of time. So everybody we meet is an asset. And if we treat it as such and nurture those relationships over time, that's where your biggest profits are going to come from in marketing. It doesn't matter what the digital strategy, right? I grew up offline before this online thing happened. And I've made my mark in the mortgage and real estate industry for a long, long period of time. There was never a time when it was urgent to buy a house. It was never a time where it was urgent to get a home loan. I used to have to nurture relationships. I think the longest relationship I nurtured was 33 months before they bought from me. And I was willing to run the race. And this was pre-digital days. Actually, that's not true. That was 2002, 2003. So my point is, CRMs are important. I dropped a link there for the HubSpot CRM for those of you who are interested. That's going to bring us to a close today on today's Marketing Hot Seat. As a reminder, we are here every Tuesday, 9 o'clock to 9:30. And feel free to share this with your friends. Let them know. We'll also be putting we'll try and get this recording up on our YouTube channel and or our Facebook page. And you guys can check that out here probably in the next 24 hours. I will get ready to stop the recording. Wish you a great day. See you next week on the Marketing Hot Seat. Feel free to send us your questions, and we'll look forward to connecting with you again soon. All right, take care. Bye-bye.